where the air goes in and keeps it insulated. Well, you put it up on a sheet, then you come.
We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would somebody there like to lead that, please?
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to
Republic
for which it stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's like the Super Bowl, got a time delay.
Play ball. All right. So would somebody please call the roll?
Okay.
Yep, you can call the roll.
Dan O'Connor.
Not present at the moment. Wait.
Is he there?
Nope, he's not present.
Okay. Dolores Schlicker,
Yes.
Mike Maturin,
Yes.
Pamela Ashford, yes. Roger Schulte, no.
He's not on
He's
board
not on the
anymore.
board.
Isn't he?
Yeah,
Roland?
Yep.
What about Stan?
Stan is not here yet.
Okay. Stephanie Walker, is she there?
She's not online.
She's not online. Kathleen Vashunas.
Here.
Okay. And that's it.
Well, the other new lady
She is.
resigned.
Well, we'll cover that. We'll cover that in the meeting. It's on your dockets.
Yeah.
All right.
So you go.
Do we have persons wishing?
In the new agenda, Mike, I'm sorry, on the new agenda, persons wishing to address the board with prior approval, we have Larry Molnar.
Okay.
Am I unmuted?
He's going
Yes.
to be addressing the board about a feasibility study. Oh, Larry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear. No, you're muted now, Larry.
Okay, I'm unmuted now.
I can hear you. Can the board? Can the board hear him? I can hear him, but
All right, Larry, yeah, like I was saying, I don't know if you guys heard that, but on the agenda, we forgot to add to the one, we sent a second copy of the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board with prior approval is Mr. Larry Molnar.
Okay,
Okay.
is everybody hearing me? Everybody hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay, to introduce myself, my name is Larry Molnar. A little bit of my background, I recently retired from the University of Michigan from the Institute for Research on Labor, Employment, and the Economy, where I was the research director for the 35 years I was there.
go blue.
Well, blue is gone. We don't have a season anymore, but a lot of work in economic development, community development, economics, regional, local, national. Did a lot of different studies, most of them having to do with areas either experiencing economic distress, for instance, during the automotive crisis, or seeing opportunities and needing to be able to receive funding from federal or state or other resources, and putting together studies that would convince funding sponsors that the investment that they were going to make was one that was worthwhile and would have the desired outcomes. I did some studies up in your neck of the woods, so to speak. I did a feasibility study for an incubator in Harrisville, which actually came to fruition about 15 years ago when they bought the old theater and turned it into kind of an arts and crafts little store and for entrepreneurs. I did another study for Alpena Community College for an incubator, which I know they launched at the college there. And the last I knew, they were still supporting entrepreneurship there. I also did an economic analysis study for the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary that was quite successful and got them some additional funding from the federal government. I know some of the folks up in the Alpena area. Ann Gentry, who runs the Downtown Development Authority, was a student when I did the Thunder Bay Sanctuary study. Don McMaster, I worked with him and Olin Joyton at the Alpena Community College. Some of you may go back a ways. Target Alpena is the economic development group, and Lee Sheary was the director there, and he's now with the Economic Development Administration, which may have a role in your upcoming initiative. Also, John Molinar, who was a legislator up there for the state, I worked with him back before he went to Congress. So I do know the region, and I have done some work up there. What I found over the years in working with communities is if there is funding that's needed from a source such as a foundation, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the U.S. Department of Commerce, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, whatever the case might be, they're going to want to have a quantitative idea of the investment that they're making, typically referred to as a feasibility study. Is what we're proposing to do, is there enough demand, if you will, in the marketplace, so to speak, for what we're going to invest in? Is it needed? And if it's needed, who needs it? What do they need specifically? And how many people need it? It needs to be quantified. So that is the kind of the starting point. What I've done in the paper that you all have, I expect, is kind of outlined and summarized what the different steps would be to be able to provide funding sponsors with what they need to be able to make a decision to fund the initiative that's being proposed. A few things that don't show up on that particular sheet, but do in the prospectus that I have, which is 5 or 6 pages long, is some statistics about Alcona County. The population as of 2019 was 10,405. It was down 4.9% from the last census in 2010. So you've lost about 5% of your population. Persons under 18 years are 12.6%. Persons 65 and older are 36.1%. So you have somewhat of a disproportionate aging population in respect to the national average. The percent of people in poverty in Alcona County is 18.0%. So it's a relatively on the high side of poverty. So there are definitely some needs here, and this is census data, so it's pretty reliable stuff. The median annual income across the United States is 61,000, almost 62,000 per household. It's about 40,000 in Alcona. So you're actually somewhat below the median there, and obviously on the ground that's not good, but it does give you a competitive advantage when it comes to being eligible for grants. So the way that this project would start, if I were to be engaged, would be, first of all, to pull together the key stakeholders in the region, in the community, the people who should be communicated with, some of whom might be at the table. I always recommend that there be an advisory group for a project. We like to get the input on a regular basis to be able to both get input and also to get communication out, both to the key stakeholders and then through various means to the wider community. So communication is very important. And that would come in the form of a database of practitioners, professionals, subject matter experts, again, key participants in the various organizations and agencies and what have you that are important to the community. The way we gather a lot of the data outside of data coming from existing sources such as census, county data, et cetera, would be through surveys and interviews. And surveys would probably be done online, but because it's a rural area, not everybody has online or is used to working that way. we would make them available through the Postal Service or some other means to get them out there and get as much information back from the different populations that we want to survey. So we'd be developing survey instruments. We always want to pilot test them first, so we would do that. We'd also have interview protocols. So if we're interviewing people who may not want to take a survey or that we want to get more information from, we want to do that on a consistent basis too. Then we'd be conducting both qualitative, you want to get people's feelings and opinions about things, but you also want to get as quantitative as possible, because we're going to want to put the results of the study in graphs and in tables and make it as visible as possible, as transparent as possible when you have to submit a proposal to a funding sponsor, and that you want to answer as many anticipated questions as they're going to have about what the need is and how you quantified it, and then what the recommendations are to meet those needs. So these come in the form of different tasks, and I know in the paper that you're looking at, I've broken these down into tasks. So once we have most of the data from collecting it from within the local community, we're going to want to go out also and do what I call, or we call, a comparative analysis. Go out and look at similar regions, at similar initiatives, and see how did they do it. Are there some models that we might be able to learn from? Are there some templates we might be able to use? Are there business plans that have been put together that we could look at and that might benefit us and inform us? So we would be doing that, and we would be casting a pretty wide net. Obviously, we'd look around Michigan, we'd look around the Midwest, but we'd look for other innovative projects, such as the ones that are being proposed for ACCOA here in Lincoln, to see if there are lessons that were learned that we could build into our project. Then it's starting to develop the report on the information, the knowledge, the analytics that we developed, and put it into something that has an executive summary, so you can look at it and get the important facts, but that has the data and statistics to back it up too. We want to be as rigorous as possible, because we're going to have people looking at this. If, for instance, the Economic Development Administration of the U.S. Department of Commerce, which has always been at the table, they have analysts that go through these proposals with a fine-tooth comb, and it's best to have the questions answered and not have to have a lot of questions coming back and have to go back and retrace your steps. Then part of the final report would be recommendations about not only what kind of funding to go for, but who to go to it for, and contact information and everything that the community is going to need to go ahead and take the next steps, which would be to use this feasibility study as the vehicle by which to receive funds from the appropriate agencies. I do have a schedule worked out, and Lenny and I discussed this a little bit, and I added some time at the end. I think we can get most of the important data and most of the work done, assuming that there's going to be a fairly reasonable response time by both individuals and organizations, so we can keep these things moving. But within 20 weeks, a little bit more, we should have the data in, we should have the data analyzed, we should have a lot of the information about what the need is, we should have it quantified, we should have some recommendations about what we need to do to meet that need, and that preliminary information will be in the final report. But rather than waiting for the comparative study and a lot of the other things, we can put together both the quantitative and the qualitative data in an early report that can then be presented to potential funding sponsors, rather than waiting for the entire thing to be done and bound and shipped and et cetera, et cetera. I also put some time at the end, because the way that professionally, when I was at the university and working now, and I have been working with a few communities on some projects, I don't just turn the report over and say, here it is, I'm goodbye, I'm out the door. I grew up in Michigan. I grew up on a farm in Michigan. I'm from Michigan, and I want to see these things succeed. I'm not really doing these things, and I didn't do them at University of Michigan because it was my job. I did it because it was my vocation. So I'm going to keep my skin in the game as long as I'm needed to get advice. I have some pretty strong contacts in Washington. I probably know half of the Michigan delegation and a lot of the federal agencies that, and even state agencies. MEDC, I've received over the years tens, if not a few score of millions of dollars for various projects from them. So good contacts there too. I think I've kind of said my piece, so I'm going to leave it up to the to questions and anything else you'd like to ask.
I want to interject, Larry, right behind what you're saying is that in order to receive federal funds, you have to have some type of feasibility study. And these studies basically highlight what Larry says, what the needs are in your communities. And they will then, based on for your feasibility study, determine if your project is okay for funding. And that's a requirement. That's not something that we can get around. So to have Larry be a part of our team, it's a godsend, because not only do we have an experienced person, but a person that has done it and has a proven track record of success. I can tell you, you guys know me, I never present anything to the board that I haven't researched. And I can tell you these feasibility studies are very expensive. And that's why very few communities can afford to do it. But you know, Mr. Molar has worked out a fee schedule, which makes it payable over the course of the time of the work. As you can see from the price tag at the bottom, it's about $25,000. The average feasibility study is somewhere between 80 and 100,000. You know, so for our project, we're going to go over a little bit more about the project, but I wanted to kind of get him to kind of to talk to you about this. And you guys ask any questions if you guys have of him, his body of work, not so much the project specifically, but you know, more so about bringing him on the team as our person who's going to compose the feasibility study. And the room is quiet. That includes online people as well.
You have accomplished the impossible, shutting up the entire.
Go ahead, Roland.
You mentioned about feasibility for project, like we're trying to build a new senior center. Now, to present a feasibility of this building and what it's about and everything, would that be a good feasibility?
Well,
I think it would. So
it's more than that. It's more of a story that we're telling to the federal government, okay, of why they need to invest into our community, because we're trying to outbid all the other communities out there who are also trying to pull from the same pot of money. So we're trying to be little orphan Oliver, please sir, can I have some more, by putting these big crocodile faces and tears right here, and you know, improving it and showing that, hey, you know, this is why this is a good investment. You know, I'm sure Larry's going to have, you know, he's going to interview everybody in our community, and you know, and start getting a coalition of people to start putting in information and start putting their 2 cents of why this is. We're, you know, once we finish with Mr. Larry, I'm going to give you the project. The project has grown, okay, because the scope has grown, and you know, like I said, but I wanted to just get with this part first before we move to the next part. So we could take a vote today. We can, you know, Larry's here to ask more questions. If you don't, we can dismiss him and then we can discuss it about as a board. about it, but right now, if you guys want to ask him and pepper him with some more questions about his work, what it is that he'll be doing. I mean, he put it down in pieces of paper, but a feasibility study is a requirement to receive any federal funds, even sometimes state funds, to the tune of what we're asking for. That's a requirement.
I guess, Lenny, I would just add that to the point of the senior center. So a funder is going to want to know what needs are there in the community that the senior center would provide. Is it health? Is it nutrition? Is it exercise? Is it education? Is it online? What are the things that would be offered? And then what do the seniors need? How many seniors are there? That statistic of 36.1% of the population are seniors, 65 and older. What did they say that they needed? So we're not guessing. Do they need transportation? Once they get there, do we need a nurse or some type of healthcare associated with it? Is there a lunch program? Are there what other things are there? Is there recreation? On and on, to be able to inform what the center itself should offer and what physical infrastructure it needs, as well as for a funding sponsor to let them know that you've done your homework and that we know what the clientele, if you will, the aging population requires and desires in the facility.
How do you get that information? Do you send out like a survey?
Yes.
Or do you?
Yeah, there would be surveys, and then we'd also conduct interviews, phone interviews, obviously. But we'd want to get, and then let's say that we end up surveying and interviewing 200 people, seniors, kind of a representative sample. If we're talking about 10,000 people in the county, and 29% or 36%, that's 3,600 seniors, 65 or older. Well, let's shoot for 10%, a representative sample. So 360 interviews or surveys. And then what's the data? 75% said that a health and nutrition program is necessary. 80% said some type of transportation is necessary, et cetera, et cetera. So we quantify the information that we get from the participants in the programs.
So what we would need from the board is an authorization to approve the proposal submitted by Ms. Moldar for the 25,000 for the scope of work for our feasibility study to be completed and submitted to the board and for our final report. And then he will stay on as part of the team to continue to move this project forward.
Are there any further questions for Larry? I would entertain a motion if someone wants to make one to accept the proposal.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal.
Do we have a second?
You got 5 coming out of their mouth just then.
Okay, so it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion?
I'm gonna say one thing. I do know Larry Molnar's, the body of his work, and he's done some excellent projects for our communities around here in Northeast Michigan. I think that he's probably kind of understands the pulse of our community, and that's something that's really important,
Well, thank you for that. And I appreciate your vote of confidence. I look forward to getting started very soon. And look forward to working with you and meeting you. And I'm sure that as we get through this pandemic thing, that we'll have an opportunity to see each other in person, at least socially distanced. And I'll be sending in the entire proposal to Lenny, which gives up more detail about the scope of work and what have you. And I'm sure that he'll distribute that too. And one person that I didn't mention that I worked with over the years is Diane Rakowski from the Northeast Michigan Council of Governments. And actually, Lenny, if I remember, she's the one who suggested that you get in touch with me. So
You put us in connection, yep.
she's a colleague and a great friend, and I'm sure her reputation precedes her also up there. So thanks for the opportunity. And if there's no more discussion, I'm going to sign off and leave you to the rest of the agenda. And I know that Lenny has a lot of really good content to go over with you for the rest of the morning. Thanks, Lenny.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, so before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we still have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, aye.
We have to do a roll call because this is spending
Oh,
money.
yeah, we're spending money. Yep, okay. Roll call, please.
Dolores Schlicker,
Yes.
Mike Maturin,
Yes.
myself, yes. Kathy Vishunas,
Yes.
Roland Lynch,
Yes.
Dan Weiner.
Yes.
Okay. All aye.
Okay, so the motion carries. All right, one thing we do need to add to the agenda, Lenny, and we can do it down there in the discussion about the board members, is we do have to have an election today for the executive board.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay, so moving on, are there any other persons that have prior approval for addressing the board before we move along?
No, I think I'm gonna jump in here with your, I can save this, I can save the project. The information for the project that where we're at now, I can say that for the executive director's report if you like.
Well, let's move along because we've got to approve the minutes and all that kind of stuff.
All right, that sounds good.
All right, so we also need to add in there to approve today's agenda. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended from the-
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, corrections and additions to the October 2020 meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read them? And let's add the November in there as well. We'll do both at the same time. Are there any corrections or additions to the October or November meeting minutes? I would entertain a motion to approve both the October and November meeting minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Approve both of them.
Any further discussion? All opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Meeting minutes are approved. Okay, let's move along to financial reports, please.
I need to jump in. Let's see, we did, yeah, so everybody had a chance to see the correction. I'll say that for the SBA portion, so I'm good, I'm sorry. So financial report.
Lenny, before you move along, I do have a comment. Ivy, you're making me very jealous with that sunshine and what looks like warmth behind you. Okay,
Yeah,
Lenny.
yeah, that's Meg, she gotta change her name. But yeah, she's down in sunny Florida.
Yeah.
Okay,
Not
financial.
fair.
All right, Stephanie's on. Tony, are you available to do the financial report?
Hi, can you hear me? Wait, hold up. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Is that a yes?
Yes, that is a yes. We can hear you.
Okay, sorry, we're having speaker issues in here. Good morning, everybody. Just a brief synopsis, I guess, of our financials for the last couple of months, going over the whatever you call it, statement of activities by programs. We have had November and December, a little bit of a dip as far as like donations and things like that. So our expenses are a little bit up and our donations a little bit down. And I guess that's to be expected for the holiday months. We were closed for the holidays as far as Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. And home delivered meals still went out as planned. Also, extra meals went out for the time we were closed. And so home delivered meals saw a little bit of a hit as far as donations not being turned in on the routes because we were off for 2 weeks. So there's a little bit of that. But we're starting to see a little bit of a swing for the first couple of weeks in January. So I'm hoping that we have a really good month in January to kind of offset the kind of slow holiday months. We did get some good donations for our holiday food box program, which I'm not sure if Deb's going to talk about that or not, but that was a good month for donations for that. And that's basically about it. Our congregate still obviously we're not doing, so the money for all of the expenses for our food and kitchen costs, everything is all being dumped into the home delivered meals program. So once we start getting congregate meals up and running again, hopefully that'll kind of flatten that out a little bit more and get back to normal numbers. That's all I got on that.
I have a question, Tony.
Okay.
Postage for the pull tab machine. Was the postage over $1,000 for that machine?
No, there was.
And where did the machine go?
Postage, I think, was like 200 and something. I don't know exactly where we shipped it. I didn't have anything to do with that. I think like Minnesota or some other state, but the gentleman who purchased the machine did pay for the postage also. We paid for it and he reimbursed us.
Oh, okay.
Dan O'Connor is now online.
Like Jesse just posted that it went to Wisconsin. So yeah.
Wisconsin, one of these northern states. There you go.
Now, did that come out of the bingo account or because the bingo purchased it? So did it go from the bingo to ACCOA?
There's no longer a bingo account. We don't.
I
do
know
bingo.
it.
So the
I know.
bingo account got put back into general funds.
Oh, okay. That's
And
what I was
then-
wondering.
So that's how that money went back into general fund.
Okay.
But we no longer have a 285-pound paperweight.
I just realized I did not turn my video on. All right. Are we done with me?
I don't know. Everybody would have had the opportunity to review the financials to see if they had any specific questions on the financials. I mean, it is 26 pages, so we want to kind of give everybody an opportunity, you know, to look at their notes, and if they had any questions, pepper you with them. Okay.
You want that one page pulled back underneath the ones that you're flipping over there?
Yes, because that's the Edward Jones report that I'm gonna tell you about. Any more questions for Tony? Hey, I guess you're off the hook, I believe.
Are you
Oh.
any closer to getting Tony doing the checks and stuff instead of Stevenson?
That, no,
That was never gonna be.
yeah, Stevenson is doing our payroll,
Right.
Tony is working on getting a NIMSCA report. So there's never gonna be moving away from Stevenson, at least not at this point.
Oh, I thought we were working towards having Tony do that so that we didn't have that large bill with Stevenson every month.
That was for the NIMSCA report. We're having Tony take over the NIMSCA report so that Stevenson is not paying above an additional for the NIMSCA report. So she's training to work into the NIMSCA report, not to do accounts payables and general ledger stuff. She is working with Stevenson and working together in concert. But you guys dissolved the bookkeeper position. So you asked for Stevenson to step in as the bookkeeper. So we have a third party to do that.
Well, Stevenson, when we agreed to do it, was going to do it for $750 a month. They've never been under 12 or 1,500 a month.
Because of the NIMSCA report. As we get more handle on the NIMSCA reporting, they will just do what's in the scope of practice, which is the accounts payable, accounts receivable.
So hopefully that won't be too far down the road.
We're working on it.
Okay, moving along. Lenny, you have the Edward Jones report, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, Edward Jones, as you can see in your binder, since May, I'm pleased to announce that what we have grossed in income and assets over the last, I guess that would be 6, maybe 7 months since we started it back in May. We have grossed well over $95,000 in returns on our investment. So that's astounding and amazing all at the same time, because the most this body has ever returned in an investment is about $7,000 with locking our money up in a CD. And we made, a lot more, almost $100,000 in just in this board's this board's vision to invest in Edward Jones. And that opens up a lot more money that we can do for our community. So that was a very good idea, and I just see that that's going to continue to grow. We've had a couple of dips here and there because the stock market did fluctuate. We do have 2 accounts. We have a steady, tried and true, what I call a debt account, which is where we buy debt. As you can see, our government likes to incur debt. So as more debt becomes, that raises. So, and then we also have a medium to low risk account, which is basically in stocks, but that is basically as the stock market goes up and fluctuates, but our bulk of our money is sitting in that steady, tried and true. So, but that's where we're at. Any questions from what you see as far as, and I could break that down further. The larger of the account that's in the tried and true netted somewhere in the neighborhood. Let's see. I believe last I looked at it was $3,000, and then the remaining amount came from $92,000 from the stock account. So you can see, yes, it's more advantageous to invest in the stock, but this is our first time, and I didn't want to put that much fluctuation, since we have never done that before, into all stocks. So.
Well, we kind of have a duty to protect them.
Exactly. So this is like I said, I think is a very good return on the county's investment to make sure that we're still able to provide those services. Any questions on that?
On the
Okay.
next page of the Edward Jones thing, it says 2 of 6, and it shows beginning balance, deposit withdrawals, and ending balance.
Mm-hmm.
Did we withdraw that, or?
Yeah, we did. We had to make 2 withdrawals because, we don't get our next, even though our millage was approved, it still takes the time for the tax registers to get their taxes. So we don't get our money until like April or May, and our accounts have been readily dwindling. So I had to, move 125,000 back into our general account And then when we're able to get our millage, then that money could go back into either savings or, into that investment account. But as of right now, we needed to buffet and pay payroll, because no matter what, people want to come in and get paid.
For sure. So the ending balance is what's growing in there right now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, until we get our millage.
Until we get our millage, yes. And that's, don't worry, I've circled that date on the calendar. I've been knocking and saying, hey, Cheryl, when do we get paid again?
All right, American Express card.
Okay, that's right after that's right after the Edward Jones report, for those that are following along in your book, in your binder. We did switch our credit card solutions program away from what was provided by Huron Community Bank. The debit cards that we got from Huron Community Bank just wasn't robust to what we're looking for. It did not provide any points. That's what we talked about at the last meeting about moving and getting that. So we got American Express Business, which gives us points and buybacks for everything that we do. It gives us the ability to monitor, limit, and control all of our banking solutions immediately. So when I log into American Express, I have the ability to say, you can only purchase, you can only use your cards at gas stations, and this is the amount of money you can spend per month, or this amount of money you can spend per day. And that other card, we didn't have that. So now we have that ability, and we have the ability to write and use up to 99 cards. Now, we don't have 99 employees, but it does position us for growth later. So that's what we're using. And this is the statement for the from November of purchases from that. And then you also have purchases from December to fall into that category. And then you have the general ledger code, the general ledger code on the left, and the amount that was spent on the right. Any questions about any of those purchases?
Well, on the November 16th one,
Mm-hmm.
the purchases were 3,160.51, but the payment was 0.49.
Where do you see that at?
Right on the bottom.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So you left off 2
2
cents.
cents. I think that might have been an error on the chart.
I did that once and they sort of charge you.
So yeah, we'll make sure. I will follow up with Tony and make sure we didn't leave 2 cents on the table. I was like, we paid our bill. What are you talking about?
Try finding that mistake though.
I know, right?
Mhm.
Any questions on the American Express bill? Okay, Lenny?
All righty. So then you guys have the balance sheets. That's what Tony went over. So we're good to move to Commissioner Thompson and the Commissioner's report.
All right.
Anything else on the?
Bill, first, congratulations on your election and welcome to our board, and looking forward to your report.
Thank you. It's early, so there's not a whole lot to report, but I brought our committee sheets, who was assigned to the different committees for the year. And the meetings now are held.
Could I have one, please? Thank you.
1:30 on the first and third Wednesdays. They changed those to accommodate the different commissioners. Adam Berge is the chairman and Dan Gothier is the vice chair. Getting used to trying to get hooked up to Zoom and any other good things, but some of the meetings I make, some of them I don't. Unfortunately, I will not be able to get here next month because I'll be getting my eyes examined. But that was made before I had instructed to be in different places. So it's not a lot to report at this point. Working everything together and getting the common first of the year things together and getting the reports on and what bank they use and what all the good stuff that comes through. So hopefully we'll have more to report in the future. But right now it's sort of the 1st of the January, we're here type thing.
All right. Any questions for Bill? All right. I'm assuming that's supposed to be NEMSCA report, not NEMCAS, but we'll.
Yeah. I believe Yvette Smigalski is online. Yvette, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning, everyone. So just a couple quick updates. Right now, we have an award through January 31st of this year. We'll be hoping before the end of January to receive the next batch of funding. Hopefully with the new administration, they'll be ready to go, but I can foresee that it's also going to be just a short-term extension. One of the things we're doing currently at the AAA is we are working with the local health department and helping to get seniors registered for the vaccine because they shut down their phone lines and are only accepting it electronically. Some of them have some difficulty with that. So they have posted our information so that if they need assistance, they can call us and we get them registered online. We also had received a large shipment of K95 masks that we've put out and asked if anyone had requests for those. And we've been distributing those to our providers for those in-home service workers and those workers on the front line so that we can make sure that they stay safe. And if you don't mind, I'll just take a minute real quick to talk about some of the funding, because I know you had a presentation this morning and that talked about a feasibility study. So I just kind of want to explain how our funding works. And I know that Lenny is looking at different avenues to obtain additional funding for you guys, but we do distribute some state and federal funding through our agency. And the 3-year programs, which are the mainstay programs such as homemaking, personal care, and respite, those are distributed based on a formula. So those amounts are not, they're done by formula. And it takes into account different things such as the geographical area, the population, the poverty, and that's how it gets distributed amongst our counties. So for those 3-year programs, it is almost just formula based. For the 1-year programs, which would be National Family Caregivers, which there is some respite, there's some kinship, some other 1-year programs, those are a little bit more of a competitive base. And what we require as an agency is we do require a needs assessment. A lot of the councils and commissions on aging in our area, they conduct a survey to conduct their needs to provide that information to us. But I just kind of wanted to give you a little background on that. And if anyone else had any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Can I submit my proposals for the 1-year grants before the pre-bidders conference?
No, you'll want to wait to see in case anything has changed. So hold on. And you know, that's coming up here. They'll be advertised in April. The pre-bidders meeting is usually like that first week in May. So keep that on your calendar, Lenny. We'll make sure to let you know.
I know, because I had a boo-boo last year, so I want to go ahead and submit it to you now because I've already written them.
Just in case something has changed. And, you know, with this pandemic, you never know. There could be some changes in there. So
right. And also there's still, you guys have just got the funding for the extending of the premium. You want to explain that so our workers are getting the premium pay?
we don't have official notification from ACCOA yet, but for our My Choice program, we do have the official notification that for the direct care workers, it has been extended through the end of February at this point. So we've heard that ACCOA is coming through with it, but we have not received the initial award yet. So hopefully that will be coming shortly also.
And what that means is that our direct care workers will be making additional $2 an hour from the state of Michigan during the pandemic. So,
And that has been in effect since July, for ASA, July of last year.
Is that just the people that's going into the home? Or is that like Leanne and Julie and the ones that's in this building?
it's only for people that are going into the home providing the care.
Okay,
So they're making their base pay plus $2 additional an hour.
Sort of like hazard pay.
Right.
yeah.
Yes. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And let's see here, in-home service report, Leanne, I know you've been chomping at the bit to talk, so here you are.
I just said to Tony, I said, thank you, Dolores. I'm gonna jump in on that for the $2.
You got to go see somebody today, right?
Right? Look, Dolores, if you were me yesterday, I've earned those $2.
I believe it.
All right, here's what I have for November and December. So we are seeing a decline in both months. November total homemaking hours was 261. Respite hours was 124.25 hours. Personal care was 40.5. November, we had some people start to leave, heading for warmer states. And of course, we had the holiday. We did have one direct care worker out for a quarantine. But that was a small blip. December homemaking hours is 217.5, total respite 117, and personal care 38.5. And my notes were that some of our clients that had more time on our calendars, they left right after Thanksgiving. And then we had 3 of our clients pass away. We had one that canceled, a direct care worker out for the first 2 weeks of the month. I didn't hear if somebody was asking me a question.
No, nobody. Go ahead.
Oh, it's a delay. Okay.
We just went.
And then we also had 3 clients that called saying they had all tested positive for COVID.
They did test positive. Is that what she said?
Yeah, we've had some positive cases in the community. We had one individual who we were working to move out of the nursing facility. She passed, and then her husband, who visited her in the nursing facility 2 weeks later, passed from COVID. So we've had one of our workers walk in on someone who had been deceased and discovered them. So we're dealing with it. We don't have mental health counselors, so I'm trying to do it as best I can, and try to keep morale up. But this stuff is hitting home, and and we're dealing with a community that is very aged. So the mental toll that it takes to continue to provide with people, especially when you get to work with somebody for 6 months and you get to know them, or some people you had workers for years, and these people pass away, that's hard to deal with. We also are trying to increase our numbers. I'm sorry, Leanne, to step on your toes here. We're working on getting more workers, because we're experiencing that turnover bug again, so that's also where we're at. You guys got any questions for Miss Leanne here? They said good job. I don't know if you can hear them. They were really, really quiet about it.
Do we have an employee assistance program in place for someone that may have, locked in on a deceased person who might need some help. I know, you know, a lot of organizations do have employee assistance available as part of their benefits package, if you will.
We do not. We usually try to refer to mental health. At one time, Michigan Works had that on-the-job life coach person, but they haven't done anything with that program due to COVID. But yeah, I mean, community mental health is pretty much the only place that we have for our workers to kind of go through. And you know, and my secondary hat, you know, if they choose to listen, you know, me being a pastor, then I, you know, willing to talk with them. But I mean, you know, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I know that would be traumatic if you just, I mean, this was like a few weeks after learning the updated CPR that one of our workers walked into someone's home and had to activate that training, you know, and that's a tough situation.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I wanted to interject that because those services are available. I know there are agencies, my agency actually administers a lot of employee assistance programs. I didn't mention it for that reason, but there are services out there, so. Okay, any other questions for Leanne? All right, Leanne, thanks for all you do.
I don't have a question for Leanne, but I have a question for Lenny. Our bills and stuff here, it's got the employee's name and how much money they're making. Is that good to have this out here in this book?
As long as
Isn't that personal information or private?
you guys are on the board, so you have to see the financials. This is why this is not being broadcast to them, but given to you as a part of the board book. And then you review that. So you have to have that. And then we put out a clean copy that basically says this is what we spent in our board minutes to the world. So you have to have the numbers of what's going on as a member on the board so you can see that.
Well, this was brought up, I'm gonna say 4 or 5 years ago. And they said it's not, I don't know if I should say illegal. But anyway, they said, no, we can't do it. You can't tell me that person is making $800 a month. Or you can't tell me that one's making $1,200 a month. You can tell me that person is making $10 an hour. Am I right?
No, I will say this. I will say this. Things that were said because it was easier to just give you that, and I do it by the book. And the book says that you, as a sitting board member, have to review all financials. So you're going to review all financial. We have secured books. It sits with our office managers. And then your responsibility is to make sure it stays secure if and when it leaves this facility. And if that doesn't happen, we have to then look at other board members, because that's a part of responsibility of accountability, not only for me, but accountability for ACCOA. So you have to know what's going on in here so that you can make informed decisions, you know, that makes ripples in this county for years and years to come. So that's why we do it the way the bylaws state that we're supposed to be able to do this. So that's why you have these numbers.
But we're not supposed to discuss them.
Well, I understand that, but this is still, this could still get out. And really, I think this is personal information that should stay in your office or wherever, and you just tell us the amount of money we paid during the month of January for wages came to this much money. Not that this person made this much and this person made this much, but just give us a total.
Well,
Isn't this personal information or
No, I
not?
don't believe it is.
No?
You
No.
cannot have their social security number passed out.
Right.
That's
Right.
illegal. You can't do that.
right.
But you're talking about federal and state money, and you basically can't keep all this a secret because.
We're the board.
Yes,
You're the board.
Right.
Right.
you have to know this. And I mean, it's not as though you're plastering it everywhere, but even like townships and everything, when they do their budget, they have a payroll sheet
Yeah.
listing the people, yeah.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
it's
and
I
and
just
quite
thought,
frankly,
I
I'm
just
just
thought
telling
that
you,
we
the stuff
shouldn't
that
do
you were
that.
informed is because I won't throw these people on the bus, but it is, it's laziness. And it's easier just to say, no, you don't need that, to print this out. No, you get a binder that you're responsible for reviewing weeks ahead of the board meeting so that you can say, hey, I got 250 notes down here and I want to know what's going on. And I'll go through 250 notes because that is what the board responsibility is the accountability. And that's top to bottom from everybody else and bottom to top.
And in the
Yeah.
past, in ours, we've had a lot of lazy.
Well, and maybe misinformation, maybe they.
I
didn't
just thought,
understand.
you know, that that's personal and private, that it shouldn't.
Social Security numbers.
Okay, so I guess we're ready for food services, huh?
Yep.
All right.
yeah, Miss Julie, your turn.
All right. I'll go get her.
Do you want me to go?
Shauna, no, Shauna, are you on? They should be able to hear you. Paul, I know you just walked in. Hey, well, why don't you give us an update on what's going on as far as like exercises in the building, and give everybody a quick update on what's going on in Day Center.
Hi, guys.
Oh, never mind, Julie's in. All right.
I was just got the message that it was my turn.
Yep, go ahead.
All right. So our yearly budget is the same at the 55,200. As of end of December, I had spent $11,528.26, which left me $43,671.47. In December, I spent of the $4,600 monthly budget, I spent $3,504.46, which left me $1,095.55. I've been able to get a lot more stuff from the food bank, and just lately I found a lot of things that were free from the food bank. So that has cut down a lot. I was even able to get like cases of hamburger, 18 pounds of hamburger for free.
Awesome.
So that helped a lot too. Plus a lot of the fruits and vegetables were free. In December, we did 1,330 hot meals, 1,136 frozens, and 418 sack lunches, for a total of 2,884 meals. And I put in the freezer 959 meals. And we're putting in more meals, keeping our freezers as full as we can. So we have them for emergencies, and we also, for the emergency meals, we use some of the canned meals, the like SpaghettiOs, ravioli, canned fruit, and crackers. And we have sent out, at the beginning of winter, we sent out 2 meals to everybody. And then after our snow day that we had a week or so ago, the next day we sent out another of the shelf stable meals for them. So they have it, in case we have another snow day. And we just started back up with our congregate drive-through yesterday. And I had 10 people that were signed up for yesterday's. And today, so far, I have 5. But some of it depends on the meal, on who likes what, so it'll vary on the congregate drive-through from day to day, just depending on who likes what meal.
I will say, to piggyback on her report, we have to wait till the verification, but we sat down with Gordon Foods yesterday, or what was that, the day before yesterday?
That was on Thursday, the day that I wasn't.
Right. So we sat down with Gordon Foods, and then we had a chance to kind of go over their auditing of the program over the last year. And I'm waiting for those numbers and our audit. We had our Stevenson's audit just this last week, the second week of January. And according to Gordon Foods, we got our meal count down to $2.25. Last year was like $7.20 per meal. Now we're down to $2.25. So that's a $5 reduction. So we actually saw a big savings by, buying more into the food bank and getting some of those items. We are working, I told them our initiative is to save money. And that way provide more services to the community. We are going to be working out with some of their more seasonings, because some of their Gordon Food brands, we get a rebate when we buy Gordon Food brands. But if you got Gordon Food peaches and Del Monte's peaches, your mouth is going to know what Del Monte tastes like, So there's a little bit of give and take, So we want to make sure that, that if we're going to sacrifice, taste, that we pick it up in some, non-MSG, non-high sodium seasoning in the food. So that's what we're working with.
I have been getting a lot of compliments lately, people calling in just to tell me that the food is really good. Or as I call them to do like a reassessment or a recheck on how their meals are going, they'll let me know that, the food's been really good. So then I pass that on to the rest of the staff too.
And that's another thing that you brought up, and I appreciate you, Julie, for doing that, because not on top of managing the program and managing the food services, I've also put on her desk to say that she needs to call weekly, bi-weekly, all the people that we serve, from home delivered meals to Congregate, and say, how'd you like your service? If your services are being delivered on time, do you have any comments for us? Because that keeps us honest and that gives us a good pulse of what's going on out there. And, and I appreciate her and her staff as well. Any questions more for her?
Thank you.
I don't know. Is Shauna, I tell Shauna she doesn't have to do a report today. Because
Okay, I will let her know what I
there's some
do.
circumstances and situations.
Okay.
We'll just omit her for the day.
Okay, how many wanted the lunch? 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you want the lunch? Oh, I was wrong. Yeah. Okay, then we can slide that. Well, you can fill out the paper. So I'll have to have you fill out a NAPAS form too. She needs one down there. So
Okay.
Lenny, are you gonna be eating?
No, I brought my own lunch.
Okay.
Thank you though.
No problem. I just want to make sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
You only gotta do this part up here.
Hmm?
I have a NAPAS form on file.
I need to have you fill out a new one too.
Good thing I mentioned it, huh?
Yes, I was just checking. You have yours, so when's the last time you filled out one? I'll bring one in.
Yeah, just do it so we can move on.
Yeah.
New NAPAS forms. All right.
All right, so you said we're skipping Shauna?
Oh, what happened to the audio there? Yeah, let me mute me here. And then yeah, I'm gonna do Shauna's portion for her.
Okay, perfect.
Can we send anybody else in right now?
No, that'd be fine.
Okay.
Hang on one second. Why it stopped casting? Okay, let's see if that picks you up there, Mike.
Is that better?
No. Let me we can move on. I mean, you'll just be very low in here. I don't know why I stopped casting to the television. Technology, of course, that's why.
Yeah. You can pass this along, Lenny, since you can hear me. The DHHS is very appreciative of the transportation services. I was on a meeting earlier today with that group, and she's very complimentary of the services we provide, and very grateful that we're there, able to kind of pick up the slack, since they have drivers that are sort of not driving right now because of the COVID. So I wanted to pass that along.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. Tell them we appreciate the business. I can't get the TV to work. I apologize. I'm going to do Shauna's transportation report. As far as that, the transportation, we are providing those transportation services to private individuals, to DHS, as Mike and I was just approached just this week, providing veteran transportation services to the Saginaw. So we're going to be presenting our VA transportation program in February at their board to try to incorporate a county support. We are also there's some other things in the works that maybe we can help with the funding of that program, providing those services. I know that out of Alpena, they take these guys down twice a week. But, you know, like I said, due to COVID, some of them are not able to make it. We have that huge shuttle bus, and that's one thing we can load a lot of veterans up on and take them down to their meeting down there, as well as continuing working out with a transportation contract with VA. So that's something that we're working with. The program is doing well. Right now, Logisticare and McLaren are not opening up new contracts still. I thought February, but apparently, you know, everybody's being hit with COVID, so they're not approving any new contracts at the moment. But we're still getting those referrals from the community, referrals from doctors' offices, and referrals from other state partners. So that is the transportation report.
What was the maintenance, like the painting on them?
No, like oil changes, new tires, those kind of different things that we usually do. That is the cost that adds up.
All right, executive director's report.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off with some happy stuff before I get to the other stuff. So, so I'm gonna share my screen. And I guess proverbially let the cat out of the bag. So we are looking, oh, don't do that to me. All right. I'm going to share my screen in Zoom first. So give me 1 second to do that. Okay, so you guys will be able to see my desktop here.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I'm a Leo, man. I'm a lion. So, and that's my motto. Every day fierce. I was lucky enough to be in a clinic with Jim Harbaugh, and that man is some, you know, he'll get you fired up. He said, attack the day with a ferocity unknown to mankind. So that's my motto, ferocity. So, okay, let me see how to get this out of the way. There we go. Okay, everybody on the screen should be able to see this.
Yeah.
So this is our new building project. So it has grown considerably in size and scope. The reason why it has grown, I'll tell you, is because the need for what's happening in our community has kind of grown as well. When we set out to kind of build a new community center. And what we've kind of seen through what we initially started with our own feasibility, just reaching out to the community, it needs a lot more than that. So what we're proposing is this first page. Let me show you where we're at. Right here on the screen, this little bubble right here. Now, so you know where we're at. This is the elementary school. Right down here is the ACCOA Health Center, which is right down here. Let me move this out of the way. So that's the ACCOA Health Center right over here. So we're looking at purchasing, purchasing this property. Now, this little area right here is a 45 space, 45 unit, looking at low-income housing or senior independent living home. That's going to be 3 stories. Okay. So we're proposing that is going to be 3 stories. about 42,464 square feet with about 45 to 48 units. Right there. That's what we're trying to propose. Okay. Right here is the new community center, which is about 42,000 square feet, which will hold some offices like, I don't have 100% confirmation, but it will hold community partners. I'll say that. So I don't want to put on camera or on record that these people are committed, but they haven't. But they have expressed interest. So state partners and community partners around here want to have offices. What we're trying to do with this particular building is to make a one-stop shop for services, health and wellness and fitness, as well as serve as an area for kids to get some of this community incubation as far as working with agricultural sciences, culinary arts. It's going to have a test kitchen, you know, a whole lot of different things. Right here, right in front, we're looking at creating a farmer's market, an actual vibrant farmer's market that rivals Flint Food Works or rivals the Allen's Market in Lansing. These are the places. I did a lot of research in all the other places. As Larry said this morning, you know, we usually contact people who've already done it. So I've reached out to all of these people and said, okay, how'd you get yours done? How did you get this? How'd you get funding? How'd you get this project off the ground? And they've basically been taking me under their wing saying, you need to do this, step 1, step 2, step 3. And that's what we're trying to follow. Now, all of this has a big price tag to it. Okay. So I'm going to reveal the price tag. So here's some of the sticker shock. Total, if we get all of this off the ground, we're looking at this project is around about a $20 million mark. Now, we don't have the funds to pay for that, but we can write grants. We can put this out to the feds, and we can try to get this off the ground that way. That's what we're trying to do, okay? Because the submission for, you know, the senior center or millage or all this other stuff, we could not pay for that. So that's the reason why we're writing a federal grant, a federal investment grant for this. And we're working with our community partners to be a part of this. Now, we're also looking at private funders and corporate funders to fund this project piecemeal, okay? To say like, hey, I wanna, you know, I'm Bob's Agriculture and I want to sponsor your community gardens. I want to do that. So this is what we're working on. So right now the process is still the process. So we're not ready to break ground on this thing probably for another 18 months after we get all our feasibilities in, after we submitted grant. So this is not a slam dunk. It's more like a half court shot. But I'm trying to put us, I don't know if you guys know basketball, but I'm gonna make this basketball reference. It's the difference between Lenny shooting a half court to 3-point shot or Steph Curry shooting a 3-point and a half court shot. Now, Steph Curry is like a 70% 3-point shooter, really good shooter. Okay, for those that don't catch the reference. But you know, we're definitely trying to make it to where this is something that could be feasible and funded for our community. So what we're doing is working with the SIDOC group, working with Larry to put this stuff on the table so that once we're able to submit, we can say, okay, if the school, if it all comes back and everybody says green light, then we just built and hit 3 of the major needs in this community, from housing to health and nutrition to addressing food insecurity. And that's, I think, would be a big win if we can get this off the table. So I'm working, we're going to be meeting with county commissioners coming up here. We're going to be meeting with board and builders. We're going to be meeting with a whole lot more people as this project continues to go forward. Questions on that? I know you do. So
Yeah. Are you thinking doing the senior center and the housing and the farmer's market all at one time? Or are you thinking get the senior center up and going, then get the housing?
We're going to push housing first, because if we were drinking, I don't know if you drink, housing would be the drink, the community center is the chaser, you know, because that's the biggest domino. So we're going to submit to MISTA. We're going to submit to MEDC, Michigan Urban Development Council. MISTA is the Michigan Housing Agency. We're going to submit to USDA and their urban and rural development So this is what we're gonna do. Our biggest number one problem before health is housing. And we saw what happened with the bedbook situation over there at Lincoln Manor Apartments. You know, so people are living in substandard conditions and they have no respite. They had no place to go. So I think housing is one of the biggest dominoes. And if we can get housing, then we can get the community health initiative, and then we can address the food insecurity. As Larry said, we're at like 38%, like poverty line. So this is something like we're in a prosperity region. We have been designated as this is a zone to build. So is it far off the mark that we could get funding? Yes. You know, it's not far off the mark at all. You know, it's 100% no when you don't ask.
There was a company that was gonna build the housing up on the hill here.
Ex-
Would that company take over this housing?
No,
And then we would only be responsible for
No.
our senior center?
no.
You
Because
want all of them?
yeah, I don't want to deal with shoulda, woulda, coulda, mighta, woulda. I want to just do it and just say, this is what it is. And then if we have to start 3 independent general ledger codes and I have to hire staff and say, you're housing, hire staff, you're working facilities and maintenance, hire staff, you're doing fitness, we can do that. And then we can go back to our county and say, okay, hey, we may need a little bit of increase to help run payroll, to help do this. But I just, like I said, I think, you know, I don't want to continue to keep looking and waiting for somebody for a boat that and a ship that isn't coming. And if we can build our own boat, sell our own boat, you know, that's more likely an opportunity to get it taken care of.
And Lenny, they've been talking for probably a decade or more about bringing senior living in, and it just hasn't happened. So we need to, you know, it's a pressing need. And, you know, we're moving people out of the county because there's no place for the seniors to, you know, to comfortably and safely live. So, you know, I agree with you. It's a pressing need. And frankly, I'm tired of waiting for.
Right. And that's the thing that Larry said this morning. It's like we're already decreasing in from years just a year. We lost 5%. You know, that's 5% in kids and jobs and opportunities, and somebody's innovation, somebody starting up a business in our area. You know, Commissioner Thompson may know a little bit more, but I believe, you know, our president, our former president, you know, invested in Space Force, and Wordsmith is opening and moving and shaking, and they're looking at building a $2 million terminal, because I keep my ear to the ground. And that's possibly a place where you can land commercial planes.
That's right.
You know, if they're going to be investing that kind of money, you know, so I want that to come into our county. You know, I want people to be like, well, I work over here in Oscoda, but Lincoln and Oconee County got some cheap property that I can build a nice little house over here. And we want to encourage that. We want to encourage people to come in. You know, if SpaceX, you know, I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but some of the ways that we're looking to pay for this comes with like not community credits, but which is called tax breaks or tax incentive. Let's say, for example, hypothetically, our project was $20 million, which not hypothetically, you know the project cost, but $20 million, and we made that all tax credits. SpaceX could say, I want a tax break of $20 million. We will build all of this, so we have a corporate write-off of $20 million. This is how programs get built in big cities. Okay. So I have put together a team that understands that model. And we are going to be seeking those type of big funders so this model happens. So that's the reason why I have bigger Widow's Peaks is because it has been meetings after meetings after meetings, and my staff will tell you, I go from one meeting to the next meeting talking with people, and you know, it's going to eventually hit the Lansing, and we're going to have to go to DC, you know, and that's where, you know what, that's why Larry mentioned these things. I have connections in DC, so yeah, Senator Peters, I'm going to be meeting you hopefully in the next couple of months, you know. Shaking hands and kissing babies. So hopefully, you know, because ultimately I want this for our community. I'm tired of seeing, I love it. I love the fact that I can drive 25 miles to go to Alpena, but Alpena has all of this stuff. We don't. They're just doing a $1.2 million remodel on the Boys and Girls Club in Alpena. I would love to have that somewhere in our community, but we don't have that. And our community is due. Like, these kids are worth it. Our seniors are worth it. Our parents and all these other people that are in our community from 18 up are worth it, are worth building and investing in. And if we as a senior center can be the bee that buzzes around to get them, to get everybody else involved, then that's where we're at. Don't worry, I've talked to SIDOC Group and we've explained that we couldn't pay because they get 15% of project and their costs. So they're working for us at a reduced rate because they want to see this. Everybody that's on our team has lowered their fees because they believe in this project too. Some of them are like, we'll work it out in the end, which is amazing because it may be 2 years. It may be 18 months. It may be 6. I don't know, but they've all committed. Any questions?
Did anybody faint there or?
I did. Go ahead, Ron.
You mentioned about senior living, and like these people over here, they don't have any place to go. Now, if you have senior living, are we going to take care of keeping those places clean, or is it going to be like it is over here?
No, what we would do, and like I said, that's step 57.
Yeah.
We're like step 1, but what we would do is either third-party contract it or hire direct staff. And what we would do is we would work out either cost sharing, like basically, this is how businesses work. Let's say, for example, if you're paying me $500 in rent, my third party costs me $200 of your $500. I net $300, I pay out $200. And they take care of everything else, from the people that are coming in to the people that are cleaning to the grounds. That third party company asks for $200 per person. And that's how that usually works. That's the reason why you have that company out of Detroit running this place, because they have a third party that does everything.
When you say affordable housing, are you talking this person makes $1,000 a month, this person makes $2,000 a month? Is this person's rent going to be cheaper than the $2,000? Oh, so you go by income.
It would be, and then what we're trying to do is get also that protected or funded by MISTA for Section 8 housing.
Isn't that the way this place is?
No.
It used to be, yes, but about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, it changed over.
On Christian list,
Stratford. Yeah, Stratford sold.
Yeah.
And as soon as Stratford sold, it went.
So that's basically how it's set up and running. So that's the ultimate goal. I could tell you, I got happy and I got scared when I met some people. I sat down with some people and they said, when I first brought them our first project, they said, your dreams aren't big enough. You need to dream bigger. I like that. I like the people who sit down at the table and say, no, dream bigger. Yeah. And this is about as big as we can go. And they were like, okay, now we can help you.
But that is true. I mean, and there's movement, and we can either be on the cusp of it, or we can stand back and wish we had. The company that just helping us just helped bring $50 million of an equestrian facility, horse riding, into downtown Detroit, like in the inner cities of Detroit. Powerful, yeah.
It's horses, but it's kids that have never been around horses, never going to be rural. But I think we can bring some agricultural and respite as far as our food insecurity and address all these issues that we're working with. And we're right here next to everything in Lincoln, like right on the heartbeat. We got Dan and the school. We got the ACCOA Health Center. Like it's right here. Everything is right there.
Very close. Yeah.
Find out who that guy is that won the $2 billion.
I cannot say that I did not play a ticket. I'm like, well, I can fund this project. If I'd have hit, I'd still be at work. I'd still be here. I'd still be here.
Hey,
How
Lenny.
many acres is that, Lenny?
What's that?
How many acres is that next to us?
Well, 7.2.
Okay.
The total acreage. Now we are working out a deal again, working out a continual deal with ACCOA Health Centers. But yeah, it'd be 7.2 or 7.5 acres total.
Okay. So the dwelling that's next to us, does that include them, or that's where the property line stops?
What dwelling?
There's a home there next to us.
No,
and then I think that
no, you're the wrong side. Here, I'll pull this up so you guys can see. Give me 1 second so you can see what I'm doing.
Well, I know there's an old farmhouse between us and the school, but I'm talking the other way toward the trailer park.
So Stephanie, there's an easement between that dwelling and the health center property that actually is part of what the school bought in terms of the new 43 acres behind. So I think when Lenny shows his diagram or his sketch, the access road actually utilizes the easement between the health center property and then that dwelling right there,
Okay.
which I think is what you're talking about. Lenny, what was the total estimated cost of the project? Did you?
Yeah, it's about 20 million rounded, like 19.5 or 19.8.
Up to 22.
Yeah, up to 20. It's between 19 and 22 million.
What do you foresee are like the top three things that you would need to have in place to be able to more firmly go for funding?
Well, we just covered the first one, which is our feasibility study.
Yep.
That's number one. So once we got the feasibility study taken care of, that was a great opportunity. The second is the results of that feasibility study is going to help us write the scope, the statement of need for the community, because we're going to interview a lot of people. And then after that is community support and prayer. I mean, this is what's going to take to get this across. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So this is the proposed property that we're talking about picking up right here.
Okay.
As you can see, this is Carbide Drive, which is right here. We're going to, in the document that I'll show you, extend that drive here so that it connects to the school parking lot. So we have an entrance way and they have an entrance way. So we're looking at putting the housing unit right here. We're looking at putting the community center right here. And when I say community center, it's going to be for the community. It's going to have Wi-Fi so kids can come in and do after school. It's going to have that teaching kitchen, that learning lab. It's going to have common use areas so people can do weddings that have air conditioning. It's going to have our congregate meals. It's going to have other businesses besides us in this space. Hopefully what we're designing, it's going to have what's the word I'm looking for? An art gallery, so that local artists can put their stuff in there. So these are the things that we're trying to put into this building so that, this can now be the place that we can start bringing for everybody, that we can get some culture, that we can get some people to come in and we can get visitors. And then hopefully we go from being the village of Lincoln to the city of Lincoln. So this is some of the stuff is our hopes. But Steph, to kind of answer your question, this is that park that you're talking about. And
Well, yeah, right where your mouse was, right where that house is. I didn't know if that was part of it or if that was part of, like, if that whole square you were buying that, or you stop at the tree line.
Right about there.
Okay.
It comes right into this easement. So we catch a little bit of this easement and this road, and then all the way to right about there is our spot, and there's tons of other stuff because the school can then, if this project gets off the ground, the school can then decide what they need to do in conjunction with that. If they want to build hoop houses to work in concert with what we're doing, they can do that. you know, and if we have other projects later, what do we see here? What is all this? There's tons of places to grow, you know, as things grow for us. We got a whole lot of land, you know. All I'm suggesting is putting a little vision out there and some good well wishes, and hopefully that we can do this, you know, apart from having to bang people off the head with millage money or asking for tax money, is to hopefully that we can get this done through federal and private funding grants. That's our hope, is to get this done. Okay. And if we can't get it all in once, we'll do it piecemeal. Whatever we have to do, I'm committed to making sure that this works. Any more questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
The piece of property that we had previously agreed to purchase is.
Uh-oh, I lost you, Dan. Say it again. I mean, I'm sorry, not Dan. I lost you, Mike.
Yeah, the piece of property that we had agreed to purchase a few months ago, is that part of that same parcel and we're just adding to it, or is that, how's that working?
We asked for 5.5 out of 7.5 available acres. Now
Okay.
we're gonna ask for the full 7. And we've already been in talks with them. We've already talked with them. And we're waiting for their final and their board approval, because you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, we are trying to work together. So it's not just, we're just saying that this is what's out there. This is what we want to do. We've already sat down with a lot of these partners. We talked with some of the people who will be doing the farmers market. We talked with the ACCOA Health Center. We talked with the Michigan Works and all these other people to say, hey, you know, would this work? How would you like to participate in this function?
Okay.
Is that does the school own that property now? We're buying it from them?
Nope, that is the ACCOA Health Center.
Oh,
All that belongs to ACCOA.
Behind that.
Yeah, they have
Right.
it behind it.
but I thought they owned that.
Nope. Okay, all right, next thing on my little agenda, I've added some new policies in the book. You should see the social media and ethical communication policy. We had some issues for some of our employees understanding that, you know, even though you may be off the clock, you still represent the ACCOA brand and things that you're talking about, especially in healthcare. You know, I'm not saying censorship, but I'm definitely saying to be cognizant of that. So this is one of the policies that we put in there. And if you had the opportunity to read it, that went out to all of our employees about that particular policy. It also included everybody received a tablet. Our direct care workers received a tablet that they could do their electronic visit verification. That was the last thing we talked about as a board. This was the policies that we put out is several pages about the guidelines. Like, this is not your Netflix tablet. You should not have your kids streaming Netflix. We've said these are the things that you're approved to do it. And this is how you keep the tablet safe and make sure nobody's information is mistakenly accessed by those individuals who should not be accessing that device. So that's the policy. So they know it. So when there is a breach, this is how we enforce it. So they know the consequences of those policies.
Okay, on that, you've got the last page number 6, basically, or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it says at the top, electronic device policy, but it seems like that should be in the front instead of in the back. Because it has the purpose and then the policy instead of the way it's showing now.
I don't know if that was, I don't know if it was printed that way and put in your book, but I'll look at it. We'll make sure it shows policy and purpose before the letter and the policy. So we'll make sure that that's in our books and by us the correct way. Any questions on those particular things? All right. Hearing none, seeing none. Okay. Next, we need to address the Small Business Administration loan that we took as a group. We did a loan back in, I don't have the exact date, but that was given to us in June 30th of 2020, as part of the operational funding that we received towards our general funds. What we need to do, I got a letter back from Miss Lord, Christine Lord, who is our loan originator, a person that takes care of that. She needed us to send her minutes that stated who, what, when, where, and how for the SBA loan, and needed us to make an addendum to our minutes. So we wrote up an addendum to the 6:30 minutes to include what the SBA is asking for, so that you will find that after the whole loan. So you would have had a chance to review the terms and conditions of the whole loan. And that was like 20 pages. And then right after that, it would say meeting minutes 6/30/2020. And then what we needed to put in there was the breakdown for the SBA loan of who is authorized to sign on behalf of ACCOA, the terms and conditions of the loan, the roll call vote for the approval of the loan, and all that was requested by the SBA. So I need you guys to approve the changes and addendum to the minutes from 6:30, so that it reflects the needs of what SBA is asking for in their submission for that paperwork.
Technically, I'm not sure you can do that. According to the Open Meetings Act, once you approve the board minutes by this board, you cannot go back and make changes to it or add things to it. You could do something at a current meeting, but you can't go back because it's already been passed and approved.
Kathleen is correct in that.
Okay, well, could we just then approve? Because basically what they're asking for is that it needs to be spelled out. We have it on videotape that you guys approved it and the vote that was approved it, but the way the minutes were typed out, nobody said in there that it would be a 50% loan, or the plans and terms and conditions of the loan. So nobody said that during the meeting. So we need to make sure that we either vote on that today, and I don't know how we need to do it, but
You would have to address that under new business at today's meeting, stating that there was an omission or that wasn't done, and correct it with these minutes, but you can't ever go back and change something that was approved.
okay, so then we
And you
can,
can't delete something that wasn't legally approved at a meeting.
okay, so then it will say on this meeting on 6:30, it's not deleting, it's just added on the last page. It just says 1/13/2020 addendum. And that would be what we were asking. So if you turn in your meeting minutes, it should be the last section talks about addendum. So we wouldn't be changing anything. It would just say addendum, but we can
But
addend
there
up.
is no such thing as an addendum to minutes.
Right, that's fine. We can put it on today's new business that we're adding for the addendum for 6:30. Or do we just need to say whatever we need to say? It just needs to be done because that's what SBA is requiring us to do.
Well, you can only correct it at today's meeting.
Okay,
You have to strike that because that was not what was approved when this board approved those minutes.
okay,
And it didn't occur at that time, the way you're saying it did. So it's basically not the truth.
okay,
So at this meeting, you could say that as you're following up with the SBA loan, it was noticed that those minutes did not contain all the required information, and therefore at today's meeting, you want to correct all that. So if you send it to SBA, you send them the legal minutes that were adopted without that, and then a copy of today's minutes after they are approved next month with the addendum.
well, that's what I just said we're doing.
Oh, yeah, but you've changed those minutes and you can't do that.
No, okay, well, we'll pull that addendum piece out of the 6:30's minutes and make it a part of today's minutes. But that's exactly the process that I'm suggesting that we do.
Do you need a motion to do that?
Mhm. And it's on the last page.
Well, I'll make the motion, but I don't know how to word it.
That's good enough. I second it.
You'll second it? I don't know how to word it, though.
Sure, Kathy, if you
Well,
want, I mean,
something about the,
Why don't you make the motion?
Well, because it's supposed to be clear and concise, and I don't really know all the details, other than it's come to your attention that the SBA Business Administration Loan requires the details that were inadvertently omitted at the June 30th meeting.
Mhm.
And then say what that is and put those in, but it's not an addendum. You have to include it as part of.
Today, that's fine.
minutes.
We'll put it as part of today's amendment. So basically, it needs to say that the following, that we received a $150,000 loan from the Small Business Administration at 2.75 interest for 30 years. Dan O'Connor made the motion to accept the SBA loan, designating Lenny Avery to sign the closing documents. Roger Schulte seconded. The roll call vote was taken. Stan said yes. Roger Schulte said yes. Dolores said yes. Roland said yes. Pam said yes. Dan O'Connor said yes. Mike Marturin said yes. Motion passes. That's what that needs to spell out. That's what I just
But you
read
have to
across.
say it was inadvertently omitted from
That's
those
fine.
minutes.
That's fine.
So that's what you said.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
You
so
want to
let
correct
me
the June 30 minutes.
retake control of the meeting here as president. So we have a motion on the floor from Dolores. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, so we will have to rewrite this out on today's minutes that we discussed this and add that. And then we will have to call the board for approval of that portion because it is time sensitive that they require that in the accounting of their loan. So we will be reaching out each of you for the approval of what we just typed, what we just approved. Everybody got that? Okay. Okay,
Board book.
good. So next is the SBA PPP loan, the payroll protection loan. Okay, we are now in the final processes of waiting for SBA. We've gotten our Huron Community Bank submission for repayment, as you can see from this letter from Huron Community Bank for repayment that our loan forgiveness for our PPP loan that we took, that we got, our PPP grant of 69,000 and some change here. So now we have submitted that to SBA and we are waiting for SBA to green light the loan forgiveness. And once we green light the loan forgiveness, we are not on the whole on the hook for that. Any questions about the SBA PPP loan? Hearing none. Moving to the next tab. COVID-19. Last time we talked to this board, or I talked to this board, I talked about that we were in the process after getting the authorization to seek our CLIA waiver. We were approved for our CLIA waiver. That's the Clinical Laboratory Applications Certificate waiver. We were approved on December 29th of 2020. What does that allow us to do? That allows us to use and test for COVID-19 using our CLIA waiver and then report the results to the district health department. So we were able to obtain from our district health department these COVID-19 AG cards. Okay. What these cards does, it allows us to do a rapid test for the COVID-19 virus. Takes about 15 minutes, has about a 75% to 80% efficacy, and these cards right here. So we are in the process of creating a COVID-19 team that will be administering these tests to our employees, so that this is another layer of protection, not only for us as an agency, but layer of protection for our participants in the community. I can tell you we are in a brave new world. there is not enough legal precedence out there that establishes good law that protects us as an agency. So hypothetical, why don't we want to put this hypothetical out there? I withdraw my statement because I don't want to give anybody an idea, but there's not enough legal data out there. I want to protect us and shield us as much as possible by doing as much as possible to help prevent the spread and help prevent exposure with the COVID-19 virus. Any questions about the buying of cards and about the testing?
Are you gonna do that for congregate meal people?
If they are.
Our job, this is for our employees.
Just employees, okay.
I am not looking to test the public. Okay,
Who will be performing the tests?
We have two options of how we can perform the test. We can perform it with an RN, or we can perform it with a staff member that has gone through the training, and we can designate that. But like I said, it would be our COVID-19 team.
Well, this nurse, maybe she didn't even know how to do it.
Well, we have the training material for it. It came with the training material. The training material is not very long, but it
Nasal
is,
pharyngeal test.
yeah, it's basically, and it's not the brain tickler. It's literally 3 swipes around the center part of your nose, around the inner part of your nose on both channels. You have the reagent in there, you dip it into the cart, you spin it 3 times, you close the cart, and you wait 15 minutes. 2 lines mean you're positive, 1 line means you're good to go. And I took it myself. It was really non-invasive. We're looking at having the staff self-administered, and then we would just read the results. So we're not sticking something up somebody else's nose.
The trained person would do the reading
The trained person would be the reading.
and probably watch this.
Exactly. Well, they would administer the test, and we would have a designated weight area.
Lenny, we're looking into the exact same thing for our school staff as well. So this is not out of, it's another tool in the toolbox to stay open and serving people. So, you know, just so the group knows you're not alone in this.
Dan, you're gonna have to repeat yourself from the beginning. You broke up really bad here. I apologize.
No, I was just going to say we are looking into the same rapid testing for our staff as well here at school to try to be able to stay open at this point. So just so your group knows and the board knows that this is not just a you thing. This is.
I'm sorry, guys. It's the internet. I don't know what. It is the internet.
Dan's basically saying that they're looking into the same testing for their staff. So it's not a new thing.
Right. Dan, if you want to repeat your comment, we completely missed all of it. I apologize. Our internet dropped out.
He just put in the chat box what he said.
Okay. So basically, yeah, he basically is saying that this is, they're looking into the same rapid testing for the school staff. And that basically allows them to test their staff. So this is not a new process.
I'm gonna add to that Dave's had this test probably 3 times.
Right.
That that whole thing
Mhm.
was the swizzle stick or this.
Hey, Lenny,
So,
we
any
seem,
questions about?
Lenny, I've, at least on my end, I've lost the video of the board. Oh, there we are. It's back on.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Okay. Okay. I know you guys got to have some type of questions. All right. Who wants to start us off with the first one? No?
I don't have a question, but I think it's an excellent job. I mean, it's really necessary if we ever want to have any congregate anything, to have our people at least to be sure that they're not passing it around.
Right. Well, Leo Myosha, which is the regulatory of labor, says that we need to take any precaution available to prevent the spread of COVID-19 up into furloughing employees are having to work from home. So we have to make sure, and like I said, there is not enough good law out there that gives us legal precedence in COVID-19 world. This is all new territory. Okay. All right, let's talk about some more positive stuff. We are looking at adding new client services. These are not ASA services. These are services that we have been asked of in the community. We are looking at the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, otherwise known as LIHEAP. But basically, the federal government and state government gives out money to agencies like Salvation Army. NIMSCA is also a participant of the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program. And they get money from, say, like Salvation Army, or they get money from the state to provide these services. What we are looking at doing, because we've had several calls of seniors asking for wood assistance, asking for heating assistance, and we basically just say, okay, go to DHS, go to NIMSCA, go to St. Vincent. Well, once they hit all of those, that's it. There's no one else. So we are working with those partners to get a contract to be an additional third party. There is some rules and regulations. I'm aware of those. So we will educate our staff, individuals who will be in charge of doing that intake form. It is the exact same intake form that NIMSCA has. It's the form that is provided for this program. And then we just abide by the rules. None of that is coming out of our funding, because all we're doing is completing the form and submitting that form to Flint. The Flint offices approves the form, and then the Flint pays for the services. So we're not having to pay anything out of our budget. All we're doing is putting our name in a hat to help people get the services.
We do
Okay.
the same thing here also, Lenny. But I was curious if any of your staff are community partners with DHS.
We are. This is what we're working with DHS. DHS has basically said that they would have to be served by DHS first before that they would fall into this program. So we would be helping these community people or participants get assistance from DHS first, and then once they're able to get served either by wood or served for fuel assistance, then when we could then sign them up for the program again from our agency, and they can get assistance. But yeah,
Right.
it all funnels through DHS first.
Yeah, and even if they're denied through DHS, sometimes they have different income requirements or life changes that can, if they've already been served within a calendar year, then the second time, a life change or something has happened, then they can be serviced again.
Perfect. So we have like I said, I printed out a lot of information on the low income credit. We are waiting for those contracts to come into it. It's probably in my email now. And then once that will be an opportunity to provide another service. The next thing we're working on is the Senior Fresh program. And what that is seniors would get $20 or $40 of money to use at farmers market. Facilitate that. If you get paperwork, you print coupons or cut the coupons. I know they send it to you, and then registered on their website who got the coupons. Now, as you can see, I'm very forward thinking. Why am I wanting this kind of program? Because what are we trying to build? A farmer's market, a viable farmer's market, so that can be used for a few. As is right now, we're trying to talk with our current farmer's market. We don't have that kind of program set up here. So even if we do register people, they can take it to Alpena.
Lenny, you're muted.
They would swear up and down that there's nothing wrong with their internet. When they show up, our internet is off the chart. It's like 685 megabytes per second. And as you see in this meeting, we've had 3 internet outages. What I was saying is that we're working on getting Senior Fresh, SFP Senior Fresh program, but basically our Senior Market Fresh program. And that's basically getting the market bucks to be used at a farmer's market. We're hoping to get Alcona County situated to be used as a viable place to use this money so that seniors and those individuals who fall into that program can get it. We're also looking at working to get SNAP benefits. So those individuals who have SNAP benefits able to use their SNAP cards at our local farmers market. So these are the things that we're working on trying to get off the ground in our new program. Any questions about new programs? Okay. Finally, in my part, I want to talk about board. Each of you should have got this. I don't know if you did. If you didn't get this, I'll make you a copy of what the board responsibilities are and what they are not. Here you go, ma'am. Now, this information, I didn't just sit up and type this out. This came from the Leadership Learning Lab that you guys have had me be a part of for the last 8 months. And they provided a lot of the information that we've kind of done. The reason why we have our board books, the reason why we have these other things sitting down here is they've been giving us suggestions of how to make our board meetings more efficient, how to strengthen our boards. Like in the last couple of board books, you got the board do's and don'ts. You know, don't be a doormat. Do state your opinion. Those kind of different things. But what they talks about the board responsibility is determining the mission and purpose of the organization, selecting and evaluating the performance of the chief executive, strategic and organizational planning, ensuring strong fiduciary oversight and financial management. As you can see, Dolores, that was right there. Fundraising and resources development, approving and monitoring the organization programs and services, enhancing the organization public image, and assessing his own performance as a governing body of the organization. And then the other parts it talks about responsibilities of individual board member is that your responsibility is to know the organization mission, policy, programs, and needs, faithfully read and understand organization financial statements, serve as an active advocate and ambassador for the organization, and engage in identifying and securing financial resources and partnership necessary for the organization to advance its mission, to leverage connections, network resources, and to develop collective actions to fully achieve the organization mission. Give a meaningful donation, time, talents, passion. When I say give a meaningful donation, some boards require you to donate money. We don't do that here, and according to the bylaws, but you can donate your time, your talent, your passion, and your vision. Okay. Help identify personal connections that can benefit the organization fundraising and reputation, standing, and can influence public policy. Prepare for, attend, and consciously participate in board meetings and participate full in one or more committees. So that is basically your responsibility as a board member of ACCOA. So my next part of my director's report is there needs to be board evaluations yearly. There needs to be an executive director evaluation from the board of myself and my work for the last year. Don't worry, I won't toot my own horn, but that audit report is going to toot it for me. You're going to see how much money we brought in grants this year. You're going to see how much money we saved in expenses and overall, so those things are, but these are things that are vital for me for growth, and they're vital for you for growth. So these are the things that we kind of need to figure out. And on top of that, we also talked about, Mike, you mentioned earlier, determining the executive boards, for this. So these are the things that I want to try to work on. Also, onboarding. Who's responsible for training new board members? So we get a new board member around here. Is it the president and vice president that sits them down and says, this is the policies, this is the mission, this is the vision statement of our board, and this is how we achieve this? So those are some of the things that the board should consider in the next 30 days, and then come back with some information of how we want to proceed. And I'm available via email. And also, use your emails. We've created, everyone has their own email, but you have to log in to get the information. So everyone's a part of that. Any questions on that? Because that's all I really have, is to kind of put that out there on the table, and then hopefully by the next board meeting, we're able to act on some of this.
Any questions for Lenny?
Lenny,
Mm-hmm.
remember that paper that I showed you? I opened my email,
Mm-hmm.
and that paper that I showed the board, Jackie.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't touched that since, and I don't think I'm going to.
Okay.
Do you want a different email?
No, that was from his personal email.
Oh, that was from
This one.
what you got in here.
Oh, from your email. Okay, then we'll address that. We'll delete it and give you a new one. Okay, let me make a note to that.
I email all the time, and that had never come up on my computers. So I get this email, why did it come up? It shouldn't have.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. I mean, I looked at it. I remember you bringing it up, and I said you might have gotten a virus or something on your computer. But if you want to bring, is it a desktop or a laptop?
It's on the desktop.
Okay, so you have a hard thing. But yeah, you should be able to log into any computer, phone, or anything like that. We can show you how to do that on your computer. If you have a smartphone, we can set it up on your phone that you can log into Gmail and get your board emails that you're getting to use that. But we'll take care of that on the other email. I am done with the executive director's report. Mike?
Okay, there were a couple things in the agenda, Lenny, that under executive director's report that we didn't talk about.
Oh yeah, I see. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
All right, so we did the small business, we did the policy. Okay, who would want electronic copies of your board book? Because I know Jesse's probably sitting there about ready to make notes. That means you would get a encrypted electronic copy. So we would password protect the PDF before we send it to you. So we would send the password first and then send the PDF second. But you would get an electronic version of your board book. Who would want an electronic version of their board book?
But then they would have to make copies of all the things to read.
I would rather have you make some copies. Sorry.
But I think it's best for people to have a hard copy to read from, because everyone's not going to bring a desktop or a
A
laptop.
laptop, yeah, right.
But if you could also send it electronically, those that want to read it on their computer, but then they can make notes in their hard copy. Instead of people having to come and pick it up a week or two before. I don't know where everybody lives, but that's a possibility, especially in bad weather. You could look at it when it's ready and then come and get your book.
Right, and that usually, our books are usually ready at the beginning of the week. We try to get it out that Monday.
Well, or
But
Friday before.
and that's what we try. And then some people don't get to it till Thursday or
Right.
Friday of the week right before the board meeting. So,
Right.
but we can try that. But again, it's not going to be sent. It's going to be sent to your board email. So it's not going to be at whatever business or place you work. It's going to go to your board email and it will be encrypted.
I'd be willing to try an electronic copy.
Okay. Okay.
I don't mind having.
If it fails, I want the book back next meeting then. It'll be a trial and error.
Look at it in the past.
Well, it will require every time to put in a password. So if you closed it for a reason, you opened it for a reason, you got to remember your password because it will be password protected every time. Okay, so we'll try to do that and we'll send out an email and we'll get.
We also, you talked about the loan letter. Did you talk about the audit?
I'm about, yeah, I could talk about that. And then we also need to talk about Mary Kidd. Okay,
Yeah.
so Stevenson just completed their audit during the week of January the 11th. I got some preliminary reports. Last year, okay, they have a threat assessment matrix that they use. Last year, we scored a 6. Now, granted, we had a lot of change, turnover, not a lot of direction. I'm pleased to say we scored a 2 this year. And the only reason why we scored a 2 because one of our numbers in one program didn't merit out when they tested it because we updated it on the NIMSCA side, but the spreadsheet on our side, we didn't come back and update it on our side. So we had it right on one side, but they said if we're going to be running simultaneously, they need to mirror each other. Well, that was a teachable moment, and we said thank you for that. But you know, we went down a lot with our policies, our redundancies. Like it gets old, but it's a purpose. There's a purpose why we have you fever check and answer questions and do all of these things. So the policies that we put in place for our employees, we ask that the board also follow these policies as well. Because our staff is not trying to be there to be confrontational with you. They're just following my orders. It's everybody that comes into the building needs a fever test and a health questionnaire. Regardless if you're here for 5 seconds or 5 hours, you're here. We made contact. I need to know that you're healthy and well to continue and conduct business. So please also, if you guys are asked by our people to do policies, that you also follow the same policies. But yes, that's where we are at for that. So Stevenson will probably be here when they finish the numbers. They'll do like they did last year, is present the report, and we'll give them the time that they need to present the report with the diagrams and charts and pie charts and everything else that goes with it, just like they did last year. Okay. I regret to inform you that Mary C. Kidd, after getting on the board, sold her home, and her husband are moving down state. So we would need to appoint someone either to her seat. I have some candidates in mind that have reached out. I have also put that position out on job boards because it is a potential job, and we can interview potential applicants, excuse me, for that position. So as those gets the information from there, but you're now at the point as a board and as a board president, vice president, that you could appoint someone if that we don't have to have another general election. And that's in Article 3 of your board book of your bylaw, excuse me, which should be the next, first 5 pages of your binder is your bylaws.
Yeah. I'm going to interject here, Lenny, just because of transparency and everything else. I think that we need to advertise the opening to get interest from the community, simply because we want to have everyone have an equal opportunity to join the board before we appoint somebody and or elect them. We can do it either way according to the bylaws, but because it's midterm or part way into Mary's term, we certainly can appoint. But it's my personal feeling that we need to, I don't know what the board is, and I don't control things, I'm just one voice. It's my personal feeling that we should advertise the opening so that everyone has an equal opportunity.
I think you might have, yes, it is currently on the Facebook. It's on Facebook advertising. I have not put it into the review because there's a little bit of cost that goes into that. But yes, it's on Facebook and Indeed for that position.
Okay.
And then will this board review the applications, the resumes before, like they did previously,
Yes.
before they make an appointment?
Well, if it's an appointment versus it's an election, because if it's an election, then this board wouldn't have any say. The people in the community would have say. But if it's an appointment, I would have to review the bylaws. But I believe either the board votes or the vice president and president and officers may vote. But we would have to review the bylaws.
I
It's in
believe
Article
a
3.
board. I believe it's the board. A board can appoint someone to take over when someone else resigns for the remainder of that term or till the next general election.
Right.
Maybe that's what it is.
That brings up a question that I have. In the bylaws, it says each site needs 3 people. We don't have 3 sites anymore.
Exactly. That's why we've been operating with what we have with people. And that's why we send out those voting to all of our home delivered meals, peoples, and all the people that we work with. We sent that out because we don't have, so now it's ACCOA.
Yeah. Lenny?
Yes, sir.
The way the bylaws read, it says the board may appoint a person by majority action. So that would indicate the entire board would vote.
Okay. So then as these resumes come in and they pass federal and state backgrounds and as well as drug tests and drug screening, we will prepare those resumes for the board's review.
Okay,
There's
perfect.
nothing in the bylaws about the board members having drug testing and screening.
No.
Yes.
The background checks,
Back-
Background check, but not drug test.
not drug testing.
Even if we do the background check and then we appoint somebody, then we got, then if we decide to do drug testing, you can do it at that time. There's no sense drug testing 6 people out there that might want to be on the board and then you're only going to pick one.
Well, they have to pass a background check to even be a part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But this board's not doing anything where drug testing is required. You come here to a meeting. If you're going to somebody's home or you're dealing with the public, then you would require drug testing, but not this, it's a volunteer board.
Right. Okay. So then, yeah, it would be the background checks. I do know that's a requirement of ASA and that's a requirement.
Now, maybe you guys can help me remember. The board was really against, and you might have been here yet at that time when you was a commissioner. They said they will not do a drug test because they'd never pass because of the medication they're
But
on.
we're not doing that. So that's a moot point. We don't need to rehash that. We don't have
You're
to.
not going out in the public.
We're not doing it. I misspoke. So just retract that. I just repeated our onboarding processes, which is basically everybody who onboards with us has to have a background check and drug testing. So I just regurgitated that because that's what we do. But for
That's
the board,
employees.
it would just be just for the background test.
But wasn't there something that if we're going to get this amount of money,
That's
we have to
we've
do
already,
it?
We've already passed that. We've already got that. We've already been working with the state of Michigan for the last 6 months in that program. So we don't have to rehash that. You didn't need to do that. All you needed to do was do what we did back then, and we got approved, and we've been rocking and rolling since then. So there is no need to get any background test or anything else like that. I mean, not background test,
Drug test.
drug testing right now.
It's not part of
Well,
Yes, sir.
we knew in the past, we never had, the board never had to do a drug test. There was background check that a lot of the board members object to.
That's fine. And like I said, we clarified that. Do we need a motion to accept Mary Kidd's resignation?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Thank you. I was.
Okay, so I am submitting, you should already have that in your board book, her letter of resignation. If not, I'll make sure you have a copy of that. I just,
I don't have it.
well, we made, well, because she just submitted it, so you may
I
not
don't
have it.
understand it.
So I will send it Send it out.
All right, so I would entertain a motion to accept Mary Kidd's resignation. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll second that motion.
Who made the motion?
Okay, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Lenny, I think that's it for the executive director's report, correct?
I hope so, sweet baby Jesus.
Okay.
I have a silly question. What was Mary's position there on the board?
She was a board member at large, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, we do need to, well, let's go over the committee. I don't think any of the committees met, so there are, at least I was not informed, and as a member of the committee, I should have been informed. Did any of the committees meet?
No.
Okay, so we don't have any committee reports. As the board president appoints committee members, but since we haven't had the election yet, I'm going to hold off on that because we don't know who the board president will be, whether it's me or somebody else. So let's move on to old business. Lenny, do we have any old business that we need to?
I do not have any old business. Like I said, I did put the board goals next for new business, just to be thinking about goals for ACCOA for starting for the next fiscal. So that would be something I asked the board to kind of think about. And I'll also think about some of the previous board suggestions that we printed out for you guys about some of the do's and don'ts and policies, big picture. So,
okay.
So that's all I have.
So that covers
I
new
have
business. Yeah.
a quick question. Being that the bars and restaurants can open on February 1st, can we open up for congregate meals?
We are open for drive-through only. We will not open up inside unless we get direction from ACCA. ACCA basically says that because we're at a higher group, higher risk, it is not worth putting the bars can open at 25% capacity.
Right.
Our capacity at 25% is 2 people. Because I have 50 seats out there. Okay, so that'd be less than 5 people to have in there. We get more people in our drive-through than what we would do having people safely sitting down. So the restaurants and us are 2 completely separate entities. We have reopened for exercise and fitness.
Any other questions for Lenny? Any other new business?
I've already mentioned the board assessments and the need for the executive director assessment as well.
Yeah.
We can get those out to you. I'll email you a format for what questions. I mean, it really should be for you guys to develop questions for me versus me give you questions to ask me. Because I'm gonna pick meatball, softball size questions, but it's really for you to submit questions that you want to know about the long-term goals of ACCOA.
That would be like asking the employer for you to write the interview questions before you interview.
Exactly.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Any other new business? All right, let's move on. We do need to, before we move to a closed door session, we do need to elect a new executive board, which would be president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. So let's start with, let's see, our current secretary is Pam. Would anyone like to make nominations for secretary? Pam, first of all, would you like to continue on?
The way I'm doing secretary is easy peasy. I would continue on. Thanks to the girls that work so hard.
The girls are in the other room typing up what we're saying.
My question
They're doing
is,
all my work.
why are they doing it and not Pam? If Pam is our secretary, why are they doing it?
Because it wasn't getting to
Official.
what, huh?
Wasn't really official, was it?
Well, it wasn't getting to what it had, like, secretary and board minutes have to have a certain criteria, the way it falls into it. And it has to hit certain points so that it's official. It gives all the information. Like Pam did one that was outstanding, but it was 27 pages long because she recorded everybody's word. It doesn't need to be that detailed. But she did a transcript, which was
She could
amazing.
do it the same way that, she could do it the same way that
She could.
your help is doing it.
She could.
But the Open Meetings Act states what's supposed to be in your minutes,
Mhm.
very specifically.
Right.
But you said the positions are secretary, but according to the bylaws, it's secretary treasurer.
Is it secretary / treasurer?
Yes, we did that, but the previous person that held treasurer did not want to do secretary, so we just, it hasn't been updated in the bylaws.
Well, the
Maybe you
bylaw,
should
well,
blame Ron.
maybe, I don't know, like, I don't look at the bylaws except for the rules, but if you guys want to, amend the bylaws, that's something that needs to be done as a board.
Yeah,
And I would suggest that because you had that draft code of conduct policy,
Mhm.
and it looks like it's something new, but it looks like it was already added to the bylaws, and supposedly the bylaws were approved in 2018. So how could something just now be put into 2018 bylaws about code of conduct?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Article 7 says code of ethics,
Mhm.
and it looks very similar to that code of ethics or code of conduct. I'm assuming it's a draft policy that was in this book.
well, I think the one in the draft policy that you're talking about, I think is for staff. And this bylaws is for the board.
Right.
So that might be two different policies.
Right. But I also think that there should be a review of these bylaws because the bylaws are for how this board operates.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And if you read the bylaws, it talks about the senior centers and it talks about getting approval of the bylaws by the people that frequent and that's not what bylaws are.
Correct.
So I think a major review is in order.
Maybe have a committee that can go over the bylaws?
Oh, it
Is
should
that
be.
what-
I mean, I was reading it the other night and,
I didn't write them. I'm only running off of them.
well, it looks like they've been added to, and I think it's,
Well, maybe Mike could appoint a committee
well,
to
maybe when
do
you,
that.
maybe when you get your new officers and all.
You
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
get your officers and
It's gonna take a while to do that because there's
Yeah.
a lot in there that should not be in there. Extremely.
Okay, so
Right.
right now the bylaws, Kathy is correct. It does, the secretary and treasurer position are combined because those bylaws were never updated. So I guess I'm not sure how to move forward on this one. There's an X next to it, and I think that's why.
Mhm.
I suppose we could elect the president and vice president, and then amend, or we could amend that particular article of the bylaw as a board. I'm not sure how we should move forward on that, because this executive committee was supposed to have been appointed quite some time ago, so I don't want to wait too much longer here.
Well, I think personally you have to go by what's in your bylaws now and it's,
Correct.
yeah, you do the secretary and just make a note that there's a disagreement with the treasurer portion of it. And that would be included in a future revision of the bylaws.
Yeah,
You got a lot of
And I
stuff in
think
there.
we talked about that last January. Because Roland said he did not want to be the secretary, but he would be the treasurer.
right.
And we were going to revisit this in writing and never did. And I think that's something that probably needs to, in fact, happen.
Correct.
Mhm.
So,
Minutes from last year handy. I'm not sure. We may have passed a split of those two positions and never updated the bylaws. I think we need to look back into that.
back into those old minutes.
Yeah,
Because technically, this board is legally bound by what's in these bylaws. You are legally bound.
well, we need to elect an executive board, so we need to figure it out today. What we're going to do as far as, do we wait and elect secretary treasurer after the bylaws have been amended, and just have an acting secretary and an acting treasurer until that point?
Well, my opinion would be that you've been operating with the secretary, and if you did remove the treasurer part from it, just leave that off until you amend your bylaws. Because it's gonna
Okay.
take you several months to do that.
All right, any other discussion on that? Okay, so we'll, for secretary, somebody asking a question, or?
No.
Okay, that was just Lenny making noise.
Yeah.
All righty, so we need to take nominations then for the secretary position. Pam has said that she is willing to continue, but we need an official nomination and a second.
I will nominate Pam for the secretary position.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, are there any other nominations? Are there any, nobody jump up. Are there any nominations, any other nominations? Are there any other
All
nominations?
you have to do is just do the meeting minutes and record all the other stuff.
Yep. All right, we've asked 3 times for nominations. Hearing and seeing none, nominations are closed for secretary. Do we want to just do a voice vote, or it's kind of hard to do a secret ballot, I guess, with some people online and some people not? What's that?
Voice.
Voice vote.
Voice vote? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to nominate Pam, and a second. She is the sole nominee. So I would ask for a vote. All in favor of Pam becoming the secretary again? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Pam, you're not allowed to vote. No. Motion carries. Congratulations, Pam. For vice president, current vice president is Dolores.
Are you gonna do the treasurer or no?
Oh, yeah. Treasurer is Roland, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Roland as treasurer. Roland, are you willing to continue in that role if so nominated and elected?
Yes.
Okay. I would open the floor for nominations then for treasurer. Would anyone like to nominate Roland or anybody?
Well, I would nominate Roland, but I'm wondering, do we need to be saying these would be acting until we clean up our bylaws?
They take too long.
Yeah.
Your bylaws are in effect until you change them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second Pam's nomination.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations?
No.
Hearing, well, I have to ask 3 times according to Robert's rules. Hearing and seeing none, the nominations are closed. We'll do a voice vote. All in favor of Roland for treasurer?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
No. Roland voted no.
The motion is carried. Vice President currently is Dolores. Dolores, any comments, or would you be willing to fill that role again if so nominated and elected?
Yes, I would.
Okay, I will open the floor for nominations for Vice President.
I make a motion to nominate Dolores Flicker for vice.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Going. Are there any other nominations? Hearing and seeing none, the nominations are closed. All in favor of Dolores for Vice President, aye.
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 Motion is carried. Congratulations, Dolores. All right, and for president, I am the current president and I am willing to serve again if so elected. Are there any nominations for president?
I would like to nominate Mike Maturin for president.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? I'm not going to beg. Are there any other? Are there any other nominations? Hearing and seeing none, nominations are closed. All in favor of Mike Maturin as president? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Okay. We skipped over the food bank report, Lenny, and I see Debbie is back on. Would we like to cover that before we go into closed session?
Could we have a committee to change the bylaws or go over the bylaws? Could he?
Yeah, that he's just asking for Deb. Debbie, are you here to give your report or no? Debbie. Going once, going twice.
All right.
All right, no, we'll just move on.
Okay, so we do need a 3-person committee to look at the bylaws. I, as president, would be a non-voting member, so I would be the 4th wheel. I would like, because of her experience, I would like to appoint Kathleen if she's so willing.
You knew that was coming, so.
Y'all might regret that.
Ask
Bill.
Actually, that's fine. Okay, so I would look for two other volunteers to serve on that committee. Don't all put your hands up at once.
Dan?
Dan is not with us.
No, I said Stan.
Oh, Stan.
Stan's
Okay.
a man of the people. So Stan, I nominate Stan as a man of the people, representing the people's interest.
Stan, are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kathleen, Stan, I need one more.
I would be willing to approve on that.
Okay.
Pam? Is that Pam?
Pam, yep.
Okay, so I will appoint Kathleen Vishunas, Pam Ashford, and Stan Weiner to the committee to revise the bylaws. And thank you for all your guidance in that, Kathleen.
I don't know how you got Weiner with a J in it. And
You-
a K.
Do you need to appoint a chairman of that committee?
I think the committee would appoint their own chair.
Yep.
We would appoint.
I know who I would appoint, but I'm not gonna. I'll let you guys do that. I'm a non-voting member of that committee. Okay, we do need to go into a closed session, so I would entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Well, we have to just, we have to state why we're going in closed session.
Yeah.
The reason why
Yeah,
we're going
Lenny,
in
would you-
closed session is to talk about a legal matter. That is addressing, or it's a legal matter that's affecting our public transmission.
Okay. Is that it for a reason? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second it.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Okay, you have to say what time you're going into closed session.
Yes,
And someone has to take separate minutes of the closed session meeting.
correct.
So
Okay.
Pam, you can take minutes of this one, because I will stop the recording the moment we go in, and then we would have to make a motion to come back in open session.
Correct. So we are going into closed session at 12:43 PM. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of closed session, aye. All opposed, same sign. We are in
Thank
closed
you.
session. I was just about to, okay. All right, so I would entertain a motion to leave closed session and go back into open session.
I'll make a
Okay, go ahead.
sorry, I'll make a motion to go back to open session.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, we return to open session at 1:04 PM.
I believe that's all the business that we have. You can motion to close them and adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, I
Do
would
you want to
entertain
set
a
a
motion
date
to,
to meet your bylaw committee?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
the bylaw committee can set their date outside of the open meeting. Okay, so Roland has a motion on the floor to adjourn. Is it seconded?
Second.
Second by Stan.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, motion carried. This meeting is adjourned, 1:05 PM. Thanks, everyone.